Welcome to Wisdom Within with Tina and Tonya. Today we have a really great topic for you. It is all about integration and what the heck does that even mean? We're going to go into that, but in a nutshell, it is really taking the wisdom and the information that we are learning and bringing it into who we are. So, knowledge from here to here. So, if this feels like something that would benefit you, we've got you covered. You're in the right place. Stick with us. So, before we dive into this topic, Tina, would you help us kind of clear the air?
Yeah, we're going to use some Palo Santo here and do some clearings. Take a second and just close your eyes and pull yourself back into your body. Let's get centered. Uh-oh, my cat just jumped. Get centered and yeah. Okay. You can open your eyes.
Awesome. Thank you.
And my little cat decided she wants to get out of the room.
She's like, now that you guys are starting, I don't want to be here anymore.
Right.
She's like, you're going to have some shit flying around. I need to get out.
Yeah.
So, with this topic of integration, this is near and dear to my heart, and I love it because I feel like I'm on a quest to integrate more into my life. Um, Before we totally dive into it, do you have thoughts on integration yourself? Is it something that how do you vibe with that? Because I know for me, I hunger for it. Like, even as I'm bringing up the word, I feel like right here in my, it's soul deep of like, yes, please be the sponge,
Embodied.
kind of.
Yeah. Embodying that. Yeah, I know that, and for me, yeah, definitely. I feel like I have that wanting to integrate everything that I learn, and I don't do as much as I want to, but that integration is like, yeah, I definitely have that yearning to embody um the things that light me up, I think is what it
Mm.
is.
Hmm. Yeah. So this idea was coming to me this morning, as I was telling you earlier, because as I'm getting ready for the day and I'm doing the shower and running through the house, doing all the things, and I'm listening to this audiobook and I'm loving everything I learn and everything I hear. And that is what I know. I mean, I love to just absorb information. I love to learn. I love documentaries, books, all the things. And I was realizing at one point I had to actually just stop because I realized I wasn't like really bringing it in, paying attention, all the things. And it just kind of hit me that we're in a world of over consuming. I mean, consumerism is huge in our world, and it's not just material goods, it's also information, it's intellect, it's knowledge. But there's a huge disconnect between the knowledge and the integration, which I would consider to be like the applied learning, knowledge, wisdom. And I feel like that is part of what my soul is calling me to slow down, to be more present. If it takes me an entire year to get through a book because I'm being so focused and listening to just 5 minutes, that's okay. And I think so many times we're listening to the book or reading the book to get on to the next one. So, do you catch yourself in that rhythm as well?
Very much. And as you were talking, I was thinking about that with the audiobooks because what I do most of the time when I'm listening to an audiobook, I'm multitasking. I'm doing something else. I'm working or I'm, you know, driving or riding. Well, driving, I can really listen, but um, it just feels like most of the time when I'm doing the audiobooks. And I remember when I used to read all the time um, a regular book, um, I would absorb that and just like would just be totally focused on that book. And I think that's part of our problem now is that we have so many distractions. And I know for me, as I've gotten older and as I've gotten into the technology and as I've gotten into Facebook and Instagram and whatever, it's that my attention span has become so much smaller that it's hard for me to even sit down and read a book now because I'm reading it and then I'm rereading it and then I'm rereading it. And I feel like that is something that's missing. And because we are, um, like you said, over consuming those things and consuming them in a way that's not fully, we're not fully there. We're not fully um, just,
Present.
engrossed in it, not
Mhm.
fully present. We're off when on our own little, on whatever other thing we're doing too. Multitasking is
Mhm.
so, um, yeah. And I feel like that's, that is missing a lot. And it's even like when we're doing, we go to workshops or we go to, retreats or things like that. And all these things we learn. And oh, yeah, we're so excited. And we get home and we just move on instead of staying in that, and we don't have to stay in it. But what I mean is, um, going back to those things that we learned and starting to apply them in our lives. And
Mhm.
I think that's what we're missing a lot.
Mhm.
I know for me, I struggle with that. Like what you were saying with the book that you're reading now. He's like, if we took one thing out of that book and just kind of integrated that in our daily life, it could be possibly life changing.
Mhm. I think one thing that we have to consider when we're talking about knowledge is the different categories of knowledge, because I
Mhm.
do think that um, there are things. So let's just say we both are building websites, right? We have our business, we do things on our websites all the time. We're not graphic design or website designers, but yet we know enough to be able to do the things we need to do. So I can go in and like learn that skill very quickly, and it's not something I need to embody. Not
Right.
everything needs to be embodied, right? Like just because we're
Mhm.
learning something doesn't mean that everything is not all wisdom and information is created equal, I
Right.
guess is what I'm trying to
Right.
say. And then there are things I used to have a rule for myself, which I broke and I need to go back to, but that was with audiobooks, I would only do novels. So I
Mhm.
would only do novels, fiction, whatever it was that they were fun. They were things that were easy, but I wasn't trying to shift and
Learn
change my life. I mean,
something.
I have
Yeah.
read novels that literally changed my life.
Yeah.
That was like the unintended consequence, right? Oh my gosh. So, and even when I listen, like when I used to travel a lot, I listened to a lot of podcasts, and many of those were like crime junkie type podcasts, and they
Mhm.
were just entertainment. So those things are very easy for me to just allow me to consume. When I'm in a
Mhm.
space where I kind of just need to consume, those are the things I want to go to. But then there is another type of that knowledge that we're learning that literally is what we are interested in changing our life. Um, and that's the stuff that I feel like this conversation is around. Those
Right.
things that will create habits, behaviors, patterns, whether it be mind, body, spirit, whatever type pattern. That's really, I think, what we're having the conversation about today is the stuff that we really, really will impact our life when we slow down and not just take it from consumed, check off the box, finish the book, but to part of who we are.
Right.
And I don't feel like that comes overnight. That's embodying. And yet it's not always hard. It's not always consistent. It doesn't always have to take months of practice. So some things can come at the snap of a finger and it's an insight and an awareness and an aha and it changes your life. And then other things take more time and practice and intention for those things to change your life as well. And so really it's case by case,
Mhm.
wisdom piece, chunk, informational nugget at a time, I guess is what I'm trying to
Mhm.
say.
Right. Yeah, I agree. I do feel like that even those little pieces that, like you said, the instant change, they come in and we can change our lives with that, but we have to keep practicing that. We have that little nugget that's like, oh man, that changed my viewpoint on everything, but I need to continue to practice that to be able to change my life and so I feel like that's part of what integration is all about is um, taking that little piece, that little nugget, that thing that we learned, or that thing that insight we got, and putting it into practice. And when we do that, that's when we start to integrate that. And it doesn't mean that we totally embody it. Sometimes we don't embody it, but we have that knowledge and it's integrated in with we keep that knowledge. I guess that's what integration to me means, is keeping that knowledge and being able to use it going forward, because we tend to have all this knowledge come in and it comes in and
Mhm.
so
In The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy, he talks about that and how those little small things compounded over time creates a result. So in the idea of a fast food burger, if you because this one's easy to see, right? If you have
yeah.
that fast food burger every single day one, it's not going to harm you.
Mm-hmm.
Day two, it's not going to harm you.
Right.
Day 365, you're going to have some harm going on there, whether you
Mm-hmm.
can visibly see it or feel it or not. We know this.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so we can see how that can go. And the same thing with our thoughts and our beliefs and our whatever. If it's unhealthy for us, day one, it's no big deal. Day two, it's no big deal. Day 365, it might be a big deal.
Right.
But the same can happen with the things that change your life. And I think that's one thing that's a little bit more challenging in the positive way, especially, well, either way, I guess. But um, we're also very conditioned to really quick results, right? Like we want that instant win. We
Mm-hmm.
want to see the results. We want to see the change. And in the idea of food, like if we cut out sugar for a day, you're not going to notice.
Right.
A week, you're not going to notice. Probably 6 weeks or 2 months, you're not going to notice. But if you did it for an entire year, you would notice a difference in the way that you feel.
Mm-hmm.
And those little changes are so small and so incremental that probably on day 365, you're not necessarily, maybe you'll notice a difference in how you feel, but you might not. But on day 366, if you have some sugar, you're going to notice, oh, here's the aches and pains, all the physical effects because you've gone 365 without it. The next day you have it, you'll feel something. So I think that's another thing that we need to keep in mind is that those little changes, the things that change our life happen very slowly and we
Mm-hmm.
don't always see them on a daily basis. And so we don't think it's working, we don't think it's happening. And so we give up and we find the next book and we learn the new thing because that one didn't work. And we haven't even given ourselves an opportunity to integrate and bring it in.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that's
That's
that's what I see in myself a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's kind of we were just having a discussion about mastery, right? We right before we came on to do this video, we were talking about how like because I'm a emotional generator and generators are here to be masters of their whatever
Their
and
craft, so to
their
speak.
crafts, yeah. They're here to master the things. And when you were talking about that, that's it. It's like mastering that. So, you know, just like you said, day one, it's hard. Day two, it's hard. Day three, and until you keep doing that thing consistently, over time, you become a master. It's kind of like, you have your master plumbers or your master um, carpenters or whatever. They learn their craft by doing those things consistently. And that's exactly how we start changing our life, is by doing, we learn something, that one thing that's going to change our mindset or change our um, thought process or our perspective or whatever, we learn that thing. And many times we just, oh, that's cool. And we throw it out the window, right? But if we learn that thing and we keep going back to that thing and doing that thing day by day, you're not going to notice it right away, but eventually you're going to notice that you have mastered that one thing. And that could possibly be the thing that's changing, that changes your life. It could be just that you are, I shouldn't say just that, but you are moving in a different, you're doing things in a different way, or um, your perspective has changed so much that you're like, whoa, I need to be moving this way with my life or whatever. So I feel like that when we can take that um, extra time and integrate those things in, those things that we learn, integrating them in is not, it's not just like overnight. Because, like in the healing world, we hear that all the time, right? We go, we have a Reiki session, or we have a few Reiki sessions, and it's like, oh, all these insights came out and we're trying to integrate them in. And it's like, well, what does that even mean?
We should have started this conversation with what
We
does that
should have,
even
yeah.
mean? Welcome as we start over. No.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, I mean, it's like, how do we integrate those things into our lives? And it's not I don't, to me, I don't feel like it is that one and done. It's that, oh, those insights came in, and now do I need to embody that? Do I need to work with that every day, so till I until I become a master at it? Do I need to let it go? Is that an insight that needs to just let go? And so, that is, all of those things to me is integration.
Mm-hmm.
So,
And it's really, I think the very first step is the let it go. I think the very first step is to say, because I catch myself doing this quite a bit as I'm listening to other people and having conversations with others, and they will maybe talk about a challenge that they're having or a struggle that they're having or a block that they might have, whatever they have going on with them. And my first thing is, oh, I'm not subscribing to that belief. Hell no. I don't want that one. I'm like,
mhm.
release, release, release. No. But I think that is one thing too, because even as we're consuming the information that can help us, we really do need to look at, is this something that benefits me? Do I
Mhm.
even want to do this?
Right.
Because if it doesn't light me up, if I don't want to do it, I'm not going to do it. And those are just your own signals that this is not necessarily meant for you, or it's not the right time, or whatever that may be. That is just as important of integration as anything else, because I think a lot of times we try to take other people's knowledge and wisdom and what worked for them and make it work for us. And so if that's where we are, and we're trying to integrate their wisdom, but it doesn't align with us and our values and our energy, then please don't integrate that.
Right.
I think that
Yeah.
is like when you said let go, I'm like, oh, that just really resonated with me, because there's been a lot of things, and especially lately, I'm unsubscribing to so much. And I don't just mean like email lists and channels, I
Mhm.
mean belief systems.
Mhm.
And just because it comes from someone I know, like, and trust doesn't mean I have to apply it, you
Mhm.
know? Um, like what you said, you're a generator, I'm a projector. The way we do things are going to be very different, even though we have a lot of similarities in our body graph. If I was subscribing to everything that you were doing, I'm going to burn out,
Right.
and that's just because we're different in key areas as well. So I think that's like, when we're talking about integration, the first step is really truly, is this something I want to integrate? Step one.
Mhm. Right. And is this, I agree. Does this light me up? Is this something that I'm going to love in the future? Is this something that's going to guide me in the future? And I liked what you said about not subscribing to, or not subscribing to other people's belief systems, right? Or to, taking that wisdom from other people and trying to make it work for you. And the way that we do that is, yeah, we can take those nuggets that we learned from other people, and maybe they work for them this way, but they're going to work for you this way, and we can take them and do them our way, right? And use that wisdom, because that's what we're talking about here, is our wisdom within. We use our wisdom within, knowing we love that little nugget, but it worked for them that way. It's going to work for me this way.
Mm-hmm.
And using our own discretion and in taking those things and integrating them in our lives.
Mm-hmm. I totally thought of the movie The Pirates of the Caribbean.
Hey, I watched that last night. Two of them.
Hey, there we go. So I'm a huge Captain Jack Sparrow fan.
I love
Oh,
him.
he's like, I just want to hang out with him.
Yeah.
Um, but I love so many, it comes up in that in all of them, the whole concept of it's more of a guideline, right?
Mhm.
And I
Right.
think if we can embrace things in that way, we have an openness about us that allows the correct things in and the incorrect things to not come in. When we become super rigid and it has to be this way because this is what I learned and that is what they said and this is the rule, we've taken out the guideline, we've made it so strict and rigid that we set ourselves up to fail too. And so, like what you were saying about tweaking it and making it yours, that's what I love is because we can get so much inspiration and insight from others. We can learn so much by the way that they're doing it. And I might still learn from the way that that person's doing it, maybe not for me, but maybe for someone else, right? Like I can still have that, but allowing it to be more of a guideline than black and white, boxed in thinking, fixed mindset, so to speak. Because
And
that just that keeps it here. It doesn't allow us to integrate because that creates more internal drama than anything else, I think.
mhm, I agree. I mean, it's just like we both teach Reiki. We've been teaching this Reiki class together, and um, we all do it different. I mean, there's no set rule as far as I'm concerned with energy work. There's not a set rule. I love Reiki. I love all it does. All I can do with it. I've learned it. I teach it. I, use it, but I also use it in my own way. And that's I learned how to make drums. Joe taught me how to make drums. He has his way of doing it, and I'm like, cool, that's awesome. I'm doing it my way, right?
Mhm.
I do ceremony. I learned how to do ceremonies. I I learned the structure of the ceremonies, and I do them my way. Same thing with circle. I mean, it's like I think that's how we learn to integrate all those things, because we have all this knowledge, but when we set that rule, when we have that rule that this should be this, and this, that actually um, suppresses us. That actually holds us down. It holds us back from doing our work, from doing what we are brought here to do, what we came here to do, basically. It keeps us from doing that. And so don't let there be a rule on it, but allow yourself to integrate those teachings in a way that is going to benefit you, that's going to help you to bring it in your way and guide you, like you said, a guideline, just
Mhm.
to just make it a guide. It's kind of like the speed limit in Utah.
Well, I know. I always get told speed safely. Thank you. It's more of a guideline. Please obey the laws.
Right.
No. But even as I hear you say that, like So one of the things that came up for me is I'm a projector, and one of our superpowers is in human design. For those of you who are new to that,
Yeah.
is mastering systems.
Mhm.
So systems are a set of rules, right? They're a set of, it's a structure. It's this means this every time kind of a thing. And what I love about this conversation even is how can I take those set of rules, those structures, and I have several systems that I'm mastering. Can't say I'm a master of, but human
Mhm.
design is one, the gene keys is another, the tarot is yet another, and Reiki is yet another. I mean, I recognize very much that that projector in me loves the system. I love to learn the system. And yet, if all I'm doing is teaching the system, ugh, like even as I
Mhm.
say that, I feel like
Mhm. Right.
because there's a gazillion videos where
Mhm.
you can learn the system, you can do the thing. I can bring that in, and my love is helping people heal childhood trauma, ancestral trauma. I can find that inside those systems. I can find it in human design, the gene keys, the tarot. I can find it in Reiki. I can like so I love to have my spin on it because I'm applying the systems and the rules in a way that light me up, doing it my way with my flavor. So even like looking at how those structures and things that we can, that's how you integrate, right? You take the knowledge and information and bring it your own flavor, whether it be tossing it all out and starting over, or whether it be following that system with your own little flair to it, I guess is what I'm trying to
Mhm.
say with that.
Yeah, totally. I love that. And that's exactly what I do. I know I do with with
Mm-hmm.
everything I do anymore. It's like it took me a while though because we have society telling us that it needs to be this way, and you and I both grew up in organized religion that told us, and we're if we're doing the spiritual work, it should be done this certain way. So when I first started doing ceremony, I was like, and the Native American way. So I was like, I had these traditional Native American dudes teaching me how to
How to do a
do
women's circle?
ceremony, and I'm like, uh, maybe it doesn't need to look that way. Maybe it needs to be my way, and when I sat with that and really, um, and I took other classes on ceremony too, but um, as I sat with that and realized that um it does have to be, it doesn't have to be a certain way. It doesn't have to be look, you know, exactly like this other person that's doing it. It doesn't have to be, this, you do this, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and that's the only way you can do it. It doesn't have to be that way. It has, to me, if you don't add your own self to it or your own belief system or whatever you have going, if you don't add that in, then it's what is it? It's just that system. It's that, just like you said, you can go to YouTube and watch a ceremony that's going to be boom, 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 and it doesn't have your own flair or your own flavor to it. So
Mm-hmm.
it's, and, integration, yeah, definitely is a big part of all that we do. And it's just us take, but then it's also just us taking those things and adding that. What they do is they add to our toolbox, right? Especially as healers, or what we do. It adds to our toolbox when we learn those things and start to integrate them.
Mm-hmm. And even as we do, even if, we're not even for those who are not healers or
Not healers,
consider
right?
themselves healers,
Yeah.
like this is part of that personal development work. And one thing that
Mhm.
I was thinking of was um, integration does help you work toward mastery, but you don't have to be a master in order to integrate. And I think
Right.
that is like people, I think that can be a little bit confusing a little. So let's just take, just because I'm swimming in human design right now. So um, within the I know a ton about human design. Do I consider myself a master? No. I have so much more to learn, and I will always be a student of human design. But the reason I don't, like, I have the knowledge and the theory in my head, but what helps me in this human design world is when I actually integrate meaning, I go, oh, that's what that feels like. And I wouldn't know what that felt like if I didn't have the lesson, the learning, the structure, the information, the knowledge. But it's when I'm actually in an experience where that knowledge light bulb clicks on and I go, oh, got it. Okay, now I know what that feels like. I can explain it. I can I can feel it within my own body and I can explain it to others through my experience. It might feel differently to you because I don't know how it feels in your body. I only know how it feels in my body. But when I have those little moments, that's where the integration comes in.
Mhm.
And for me, I mean, those things can happen very quickly, but I have to be studying at least to a certain degree the information to be even aware of that. And I think that's one thing, like where we started this conversation, where we get thrown off, because if I listen to a book about human design, or even if I read it, but I'm not slowing down and really focusing on one little chunk,
Mhm.
how do I ever how will I ever be able to like it's gone 5 minutes later. It's slowing down and really looking at this really sparked an interest in me. I'm going to slow down and pay attention to that piece, that little
Yeah.
nugget. Um, when we do that with multiple nuggets, that's where we really start to see life change, I feel.
Mhm. Yeah,
Is
I
that making
agree.
sense?
Yeah, makes sense to me.
I can see it. I can see what it
No,
looks
that
like.
makes
I'm trying to.
sense. In because like we talked about earlier, it's like I had this aha moment. You have told me, and another friend has told me that, and you're both human design people, and you both told me about how as a generator we're here to master, and I it never clicked until I had and I listened to a video and I was listening to that specifically about creativity. And when she said that generators are here to master their craft, I was like, oh, that's what they mean. And I was just like, oh, okay. And so then I I feel that and now I'm like, oh, I can apply that in my life. I can apply that in my business, because I am learning to master all these different things. And then also like with Reiki, it's like how you and I are teaching Reiki, and each time we teach it, we also learn something, but we're teaching them um it's like what you said, because as you were talking, I'm like, oh yeah, I can feel the energy in this way, but somebody else, they might not even feel it yet. And so it takes them that practice to start learning to how to feel that, right? And
Mhm,
oh, this is how it feels. And
mhm.
so yeah.
And, I think the thing is, why do we want to integrate anything in the first place? Because somewhere there's change that we're wanting to see, typically.
Mhm.
If we believe our life is perfect and everything is amazing and nothing needs to change, life will probably come and change it for you. Let's be real.
Right.
Well, I do. Okay, so I do believe like here's the status quo. And I do believe that we get to use status quo as a breather. I think if we're climbing the mountain, this is where we hit that ledge and we're like, okay, I'm going to catch my breath. And
Mhm.
sometimes we get to be there for a minute and sometimes it's a hot second. but we either start going back up the mountain or we start to decline. And I've seen that in a lot of people where they just want everything to remain exactly the same and stay status quo. And it's like, okay, but pretty soon you're going to start going like this. And then it's even harder to get back. Like life is going to take us and we're going to have a choice. Are we going to go up or are we going to go down?
Mm-hmm.
So that doesn't mean we don't want it to just stay nice and flat. I definitely resonate with that. It's just not going to. So helping us being able to go on that upward momentum is really where this comes in. What change, what shift, what area of your life do you want to climb the mountain? And maybe it's something as simple as bringing more stillness into your life, bringing more sacredness into your life, bringing more. I mean, for me, that's where I am, right? I want to bring in sacredness and stillness, but maybe for someone else, it's something different. It's more connection. It's more hope.
Joy.
It's more what?
Joy.
More joy. Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. So it's really like we start to seek some of that. And for me, if we're going to go to take the time and effort and money into improving our lives in that way, why not apply it? I mean, if we take okay, I don't do this. So full disclaimer, I have not been doing this. However, I might start because it's not a bad idea. But um, if we just sit down and listen or read a few pages of a book or listen to a few minutes of a book, and our intent is to find that spark of inspiration, that, oh my gosh, I love the way they said that. I love the way that was worded. Pause there, stop there, write that down, and practice just that and allow that to come in to your life toward mastery on a daily basis, on a regular, whatever that means to the individual. That one little thing can change your life.
Mm-hmm.
And if we don't intentionally slow down and pay attention to that little thing that sparked that, oh my gosh, I love the way they worded that, we just move on and we can't even remember what it was. I mean, speaking, this is me here.
I'm guilty too.
So I feel like that is the practice and it's not hard. It doesn't have to be hard.
Right.
It's very intentional is the difference, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That reminds me of that. I took a picture of the book in the book that I was reading about Reiki, remember? And I'm like, this is what they said, you know. And then you told me we were in class and you're like, tell people about what this was said. And I'm like, oh, I forgot. And fortunately I had it still in my phone, but I was like, yeah, I need to practice that.
Yeah. Well, I think we all do, right? It's just the
Hmm.
difference in mindfulness and mindlessness. We
Hmm.
hear this and we see it all the time. We see a quote, we're just trolling Facebook, we're scrolling social media, and we have something that just really speaks to our soul. And we love it in that moment. Maybe we share it, maybe we screenshot it, but do we
Hmm.
actually ever go back and revisit it?
Right.
99% of the time, the answer is no. And that's okay.
Hmm.
But think about the difference in the shift that you would have if you did revisit that every day.
Yeah, that reminds me of your coffee or your Sunday morning coffee, intention setting. How many times do you pull a card that I see and I'm like, oh, I love this card. And then by Tuesday, I don't know what that card was. I'm trying to think what the card was this last time.
Well, yesterday
I know
was
I
I am
remember what it
humble
was.
because
Yeah,
that
I'm
one I
humble.
had a lot of spice. I
Yes, it
struggled
was
with
humble.
that one.
Yeah,
So I remember that
I
one because it
remember
was
that one.
beat into my head with a cosmic 2x4. So
Yeah,
that
yeah.
I do but most of the time
Yeah.
you're right. Coffee talk by 9 o'clock, I don't even remember I've moved on to the next thing.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
And
So, and even like cards, we pull cards, I pull cards. Not, I don't do it every day. I know you do pretty much every day, but I don't do it every day, but I do it regularly. And I'll pull, you know, put a little spread out and I'll look at it and I'm like, oh, I love this spread. Or I'll send you a screenshot of it or whatever, or not a screenshot, a picture of it. I'm like, I love this. And then I'm like off to the next thing and I don't even know what it said that, I don't even remember.
Mm.
And so it's all those little things, just like you said, if we can take that slowing down and being intentional with um, learning those things and integrating those things, yeah, they definitely could be some life-changing experiences that you know, and, and
And I
yeah,
do want to include the there's a lot about the energetics. Like not everything does. So a lot of the things we're talking about are consistency and application
mhm,
and even just remembering that word, right? But there's also I just want to make sure people don't feel like they're doing it wrong and that it's all for naught. Like
yeah,
everything you've
yeah,
been doing is fabulous. Please keep doing those things, but really look at like what is it that I want to bring in? And what if you write down that word and keep it with you? Carry it with you, put it on your wall, something like that where you'll see it. You don't have to do. It's just
mhm,
you see the word. That's it. Sometimes it is just that much where you see that word and allow your mind to do the beautiful work that it does, which is not you having to force or do. It's just, it works its magic in its own way just by seeing the word, just by feeling that note in your pocket, just by knowing that that's in your wallet, wherever it is that you put it. Maybe it's a word that you write down every day on a planner or in a journal or I don't know, a sticky note you put on your wall so you see before you go to bed and when you wake up. There's magic in that. There's energy in that, and that will help you.
mhm,
And so I do want to really, for people where this work feels daunting, it's allow that, allow the energy to do a lot of that work for you as well. The intention is you slowing down. If there's one word out of this that I can take today, what is it going to be for me? Your job is to put that word into to choose the word, I guess is what I'm trying to
mhm,
say, or choose the activity or choose the intention or desire, whatever you want to call it. That's your work.
mhm.
And sometimes that can be enough.
Right. Yep. I totally agree with that.
I and those things can change our life. It was in our Reiki class we were talking about when I had made a drum with you before.
Hmm.
And how it was really funny to me because I was like, oh my gosh, but we were talking about when I was at a drum making workshop with you, making the drum, and how who I was then and who I am now today is
Totally different.
completely different person. And in some ways, I am still me, like the
Hmm.
core of me. But in other ways, I really resonate with that, where I'm like, yeah, I'm holy cow, I don't even recognize that girl. And that was like 2.5 years ago. We're
Hmm.
not talking 10 years in a decade.
Right.
Um, and I have not had those significant life events that have really like shoved me into change. I mean, it's just been very subtle shifts that has created a lot of change.
Hmm.
So these ideas and the energetics behind all of this really does a lot because I don't feel like I've done that much work.
But you did integrate. So you
Yes.
integrated these things that you learned along the way, right? You started integrating these new um,
The
belief
tools.
systems, the new tools that you had, the new um, trainings and whatever, all these things you started to integrate into your life, and it was little by little, and you changed and um, brought in new, uh, not really belief systems, but perspective. That's the word, perspective, different perspectives and different, ideas and things that you allowed to, and that was through integration,
Mhm.
integrating um, all these things that you learned.
And I feel like there are parts to that that are doing,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like I made the conscious choice. I had had Reiki 1 and 2 for a while, and I realized one day that the whole reason I got this was for my own well-being. And I'm like, why am I never using this on myself?
Mm-hmm.
Hello, this
Mm-hmm.
is the whole reason I got it. So I made the intention at that point to do Reiki on myself every single day. And I am the person that apps are created for because I do not want to lose my streak. So I took advantage of that and I have a little habit tracker. And so every day I would go in and track that I had done that day. And I don't think I missed a day for 6 months or more.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then if I did, it was a little here and there, but you know, that is still, I did lose it for a minute. I kind of lost the habit. And then I'd guess it was probably about a year ago, I picked it back up and started
Mm-hmm.
doing it every day again. And there's not a day that goes by that I don't send Reiki to myself in one way or another.
Mm-hmm.
I can't tell you exactly what that's doing, but I know that I see a lot of things that I believe that like these little ahas, these insights, these healings, these clearings, all these things based on that practice. And that's just the one practice that I'm talking about, but pick a practice for
Mm-hmm.
anybody. When you do it, it's just like the burger, right? You don't notice the little
Mm-hmm.
thing over time, or choosing to cut out sugar. You don't notice the little thing over time. But when I look back over 2 years, I'm like, holy cow.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, I love it.
So use our tools,
Yes, definitely.
integrate the tools, use the tools.
Integrate, embody, integrate, and hold them close.
Yes. Is there anything else that we need to bring with this topic?
Oh, I feel complete with it.
I do too.
Do you? Okay.
I mean, of course, I have a lot of other things, but I'm
I
like,
know.
oh, that's
We
another
both
video.
can.
I have like words popping in my mind, and I'm like, wait, another
Yep.
video. Or we'll be here for another hour.
Right, right.
Okay. So, with that, will you help us
Yeah.
bring ourselves back somewhat to reality?
Yeah. Let's take a deep breath in. Another deep breath in. Allowing yourself to come back into your body, feeling your body in your chair. And yeah, grounding yourself into this discussion. And yeah, go ahead and open your eyes.
Thank you. Feels amazing. I'm wondering now, what am I going to integrate based on this conversation? So, definitely, I'm going to come back and watch this one again because I
Right.
know
Me
there's some
too.
good stuff.
Yeah.
So, oh, just to remind people who are watching, we have our Wisdom Within toolkit is
Yes.
available. We've got some new additions in there for you. So if you already have it, make sure you check your file. And if you do not have it, you want to jump in and grab that because we've added some shadow work information. We've added some holiday survival guides and all kinds of
Right.
stuff in there as well. So make sure and I think it's important for people to know that that is a living um toolkit. We're going to continue to add things, remove things as the seasons pass. So make sure you check out the Wisdom Within toolkit in the description below. And as always, please like, comment, and share. That really helps us spread the word and get things out there for others. So tell us in the comments. I would love to know what you are intentionally integrating.
Right. I would love to know that too.
Yes, let's have that conversation in the comment.
Yeah. Yep. Definitely.
All right, thank you guys for being here, and we will see you in the next video.
All right. See ya.